Hey, totally loving the Friday vibe right here at Look Up TV. I'm enjoying the morning drift. If I said it's cold in studio, I'd be lying. It's even better. It's warmer. I mean, it's been cold throughout Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But the fact that I'm having DJ on set and the amazing artists on set, it is warmer than I thought. I hope it's warmer for you as well. Be part of the conversation that I'm just about to begin shortly right here. Of course, as far as the politics is concerned, but we easing it up a little bit into art. All right, when we started the conversation with the DJ and Simba earlier, we were like, wait, they're actually artists who bloom during the electioneering period. Yes, and in the past, stuff like poetry, music, and not even in the past only, this very day, this century, this time and moment, if an artist would and poets and spoken word artists and run with it, and children grow with that because it is through art that we inculcate and build a generation. Now guys, did you know that literature in general has always been utilized to speak on important issues in a way that articulates an author's feeling of injustice? If there is justice as well, that's how powerful. And of course, it is argued, according to this, written article by Sadia Noshin, that it is argued that there is nothing like a beautifully crafted, poem to rouse the masses and communicate an intensity of emotion that, of course, is otherwise untranslatable. Look, when they say untranslatable, do you know how deep poet can be? And spoken word and the amount of emotion that comes with it. Now it forms vary, forms vary from calculated rhyme to unrestricted prose, and there are no rules, I hear, and I'm about to hear from my guest, if there are really no rules to how poets can convey their message. Do we see rules with poets? The best I know is this. So of course this is a moment I'm gonna let us vibe with the spoken word artists here. They're doing amazing things, and of course familiar to you, I know my fans wamekuja kukuja, wanangoja kungoja, and especially on Facebook we are live right now. Let me know who you celebrate. Female poets, Muko, by the way, there are no female poets on set, guys. But please let's know if we can celebrate every other poet this morning, because most of the times you're just my artist, my celeb. You guys, we have spoken word artists and poets as well. Let me begin with you all on set. Do I bow or do I do this? How do we do Igwe when we see a great poet on set?
Snapping is good. That can work.
That works?
Snap your fingers, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Why is it all about the snap? Why wouldn't you guys clap? Why wouldn't you guys, do certain sounds? Why is it this for poetry? Can we start, before I even introduce them, can we start with why the snap?
I think it's just the vibe. I think every art sort of has its vibe. There's no way if you're listening to, like, let's say slow music, let's say those music people, those songs people read from books. Yeah. It had to be like you can't dance to them like without an Afro-pop sound. Like, it's just a vibe that's associated with poetry, because poetry is also like very deep, as you rightly put in the introduction. And I think it's just what sets it apart. Every art has its way of, for comedians, they're used to like somebody heckling from the crowd, So I think just for poetry, the snapping thing just kind of works out. But we don't, it's not a cult that you you can clap, you can shout, you can.
It's a slogan.
Yeah,
it's a slogan.
Is it?
It's kind of just kind of yeah.
It's like a signature for you all?
Yeah,
like
it's a signature for poets, yeah. For those who get it, it's...
For those who get it.
It's like when you go to Coast.
It's deep.
When you go to Coast, you eat what Coastarians. So when you go to poetry circles as well, you find something that is unique to poets and just vibe along.
And like in the assemblies, during the proceedings, you don't clap, you pretty much just stomp your feet. That's how it is.
It would be weird to go there and start snapping.
I know. What is going on? So now let's just get your names, you all. I mean, it's so good to have you. So let's start with Pizza. I mean, you just brought that vibe already.
Yeah.
Just an unofficial intro. And I don't know how you're going to do it in your own way, but I know your fans will get it.
Okay. Mapenzi yako baba ndo the real revolution. Yamefanya wezi, walevi, waasi, walezi wabadilike wawe mabalozi wa serikali yako, wachungaji wa mali yako. Sababu siwezi kulinganisha na yeyote kwa sababu wale ujita baba yao wewe ndiye baba yao, na wale ujita ati mimi ni yule msee, deep down wanajua wewe ni yule msee. So for that reason sitaambia watu wako ete live and die in Africa. No, I will tell them live and die in Christ, because Christ wewe ndiye my creator, wewe ndiye kwangu mgreater. Ati kukataa Mungu yupo ni kama kukataa una kisogo kwa sababu haukioni. Ati kama God angekuwa data bundle probably angekuwa unlimited, na hizo network zingine zote by default zingekuwa limited. So kama una sub God unlimited, mbona unajilimit? Ni kama kuswitch off data na uko kwa wifi zone, ni kama kustruggle kuandika a short text na uko na unlimited text, ama ni kama kuringia watu tunalipia mamako rent and the real sense kwa suppose kuwa anaishi kwa mansion nimemjengea, ama ni kama kusikia samaki akisema ati anasikia kiu ndiye anaishi kwa bahari. So heavily speaking, I'm a star. They call me Poet Pete Star. That's why I mean Nista. Yeah.
Why are you limiting yourselves this morning?
At least I'm an unlimited God.
Oh, wait, I'm going to come back to you because there's a lot about this. You know, there's refugee, then there's Upendo Amani Jamani. That's what you have just, you know, given us and dropped it.
Yeah.
That's just a teaser because, guys, this stuff are on YouTube as well. You can access them with a better spice to them. But, whoa, thank you for that. I loved it. Now we're going to come to K-Stone. I mean, drop it in your own style. Let's see if we get to snap at it.
Tulipewa peace na Mumba yalitoka kwenye giza ya ukoloni. Akatupa Kenya, taa, mwanga na uhuru. Akatujalia raha ila tunabishana kwa mambo ya hii dunia. O pesa, o shamba. Mao zetu zikabbecome like flash disk, transport virusi, chikineza chuki, uchochezi, ukabila na fitina. Umwagaji wa damu na uharibifu wa kila aina. But still God. Ulifresha wa Ruto bila taska, Gini sama Mutudho. Mao zetu katupatia fresh breath bila kutumia PK. Ule wa Gatanga. They call me K-Stone the poet.
Guys, let me do that. I mean, you guys, you've got it. And I'm looking at names here, and I don't know if these are familiar to you. You know, over the years, we celebrate politicians, we celebrate artists, we celebrate rappers, hip-hoppers. But I don't know if these names are familiar or they're just one of those bloggers, you know, kind of stories. Kiage And Ankey, is that a that's a popular name I hear in poetry. I hear there is the Islanda David, and Songa, Mark Ford, Clifton Gashagwa, and kuna majina kadhaa, right? So there are so many you know, poets in this country. Akina Ajaib Kamal, Jonathan Kariara, Wanjiru Kinyanjui, Mumbi Macharia. Is it?
Yeah.
Oh wow, okay. Then you were like, yeah. Is that
some of those we perform together? Like for Mumbi, I think we've done a show together. Like Kipia, but like some of this we've shared like common stages, either in Nairobi or sometimes we just meet. You know, when poetry first began in Nairobi, I remember when I was getting into spoken word. This is in the year 2014. I was in campus at the Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, and this is when I decided to like now major fully on like take spoken word as a profession. And back then, you know, in the beginning, it was like the poetry circles were very small communities. Like if there was a poetry event in Nairobi or anywhere in Kenya, all poets would be there. And so you sort of saw guys all beginning, the likes of
like
Teardrops. We are all the likes of Teardrops, Mufasa, we were all like on the same stages. And then what you saw over the years, like maybe in 2016, 2017, people now started sort of branching out and becoming their own artist and becoming their own brand. And now, so randomly you just meet these people in shows. You're like, oh, you're here. But when it was beginning, like, oh, if there was a show in Nyeri, every poet was there. If there was a show in Nakuru, every poet was there.
So it's getting better by the day?
It is getting
better. People are embracing it even
by
more?
far. Most of the poets actually met that we began around the same time. We meet at like corporate shows.
I mean,
like we are both like featured artists, and it's amazing.
That's amazing. I want to hear. I mean, at least we got a bit of your story.
Paid for it.
Oh yeah, we're gonna come to that as well. Because most of the times, because most of the times the most celebrated people in this country don't really get the value for it. But I like that you're saying most important is getting paid for it, and at least you gave us a bit of your history. How was it like for you when you began poetry or spoken word?
First of all, it just began when I was in church mostly. So probably you were given a mic, then you're told, just speak anything you have in mind. So you're like, okay, what am I going to start with? Then you just speak, you just find yourself fluently speaking your vibes. Everything you were talking about is just flowing and flowing and flowing. Then the time came, poetry after lunch.
Oh.
Yeah, so here in Kenya Cinema, I guess.
Kenya National Theatre.
Yeah. So most of the times we're just finding there to make 80, vibing, just free vibing, talking about anything you have in mind. Then that's boring.
So there's the aspect of speaking what is on your mind, and there's a way to just figure it. Sometimes people have said that certain artists were fake. I figure it's a bit difficult to be fake when spoken word. You speak what it is, what you feel, how you feel it. It's just how you convey it that comes out differently, is it?
Yeah.
Totally. I think the way it's not even so much on the artist. I think it's just actually the art form.
Okay.
The art form sort of, because I've realized, I remember one day having a performance at one of the Kenyan universities, and the person who was playing like the instruments really took a certain musical sound like that was so off in terms of it's easy for poetry. There's a way sort of demand silence or attention. Like the moment somebody opens their mouth to speak, people start listening. People stop whatever they were doing to listen to you. That's the art form. Of course, the artist has their role to play, but don't get me wrong. Like the art form itself is a very, as you were saying, poetry is very deep. Where it's hard to be dancing your best when you're listening to a deep song. The song you just listen to when you just want to be quiet.
Yes.
When you're quiet and you're letting the words speak to you, you're interacting, you're one with the song. I think it's the same thing with like poetry. So that's just how it is. And I think that now also puts pressure on the artist to sort of be conscious about what they are speaking about. Because now you have people's attention.
And you have influence.
Yeah, you have people's attention, and you've rightly put, you have influence. So what are you gonna say? Because they are, unlike like music, you can, how many times do we like dance to a song and we don't know what the artist was saying? Because of the rhythm, because of the beat. But now with poetry, like that is, the beat is sort of very subliminal. It's something like really under. It's buried actually. Most poets actually can perform easy without, I'm sure with poetry after lunch, most guys perform without instruments and stuff.
Just a couple just sit down. People relax, then you speak your mind.
Now, speaking of speaking your mind, you do realize that, of course, in the rights, there's freedom of speech. I mean, you exercise it more than anyone because you guys are literally spoken word artists, so it's usually words. And we're just in the, I wouldn't say we're really off the political season. We still are on it. But hardly have I seen, and I don't know why you guys are very, and like you said, you should be very careful because the power that comes with the poetry and spoken word and the influence could be tremendous. But I still seek to understand, what role do you think, if there was any, the spoken word artists seem to have played in Kenya during this particular electioneering period? Did you pick anything so far?
Personally, yeah, definitely. Every art form, it's not just about like poetry, it's just like.
But I want to keep it poetry.
Just like music. I'm saying that in regards to how poetry is not separate from any other. It's just an art, just like comedy. They have their role to play. Yes, the musicians have their role to play, and so do poets. And what I've realized is most poets, there have been a big focus on peace and unity, but there have also been a major focus on justice. Like, it's very hard to preach peace and not talk about justice. And so there are guys who lean more towards justice, there are guys who lean more towards peace and unity, there are guys who lean towards like solidarity and loyalty, reminding us about our nation and what brings us together, and that, what makes us we are more of a family than we think. So there are guys who chose it, and of course there are the guys who just decide to wild out. You can never, you can, in every art form, you can never miss one or two who just decide to do their own thing, who may decide to
out of the box.
Yeah, out of the box, or even, or just decide to like. To exercise, to enjoy the freedom a bit too much.
Oh, okay, so there's that part as well.
But that's everywhere, but that's a few. But the major ones I know have been, the major focus has been actually on peace and has been, because you have influence,
and
even
justice.
if it's like a couple of thousand people, and justice.
All right, and now I really want to hear from you what you think of what he has actually said, because I see you're really sharing a lot of his sentiments.
Yeah, he has a point actually, because as you can see, the music industry, most of it, the poetry has been lagging behind for quite some time. But most artists have been regularly singing. But why is the poetry into that? You just sit down, note something down, stick it in your mind. But when you get that opportunity to speak it out, it's just a boom. So like everybody just like, it's just like wow.
And then they take it from your soul to their soul.
Yeah.
That's how powerful it is.
That's how powerful it is. And
Think about it. I'm a believer, first of all. I'm a Christian, right? And so I go to like the book of Genesis 1. I think it's in the creation of man. When Eve finally was was created, and when Adam looked at Eve, he says, "This at last is bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she came out of man." That was a poem. I mean, this guy looked at that woman, and whatever came out of him was poetry. So the depth in poetry is not just about maybe like this deep issue, it's also like just about love and depth on almost everything. They say a good poem is either very sweet or very sad.
All right, very sweet or very sad.
Yeah, it's either very like put you on the extreme of happiness or extreme of the other extreme.
But either way, our emotions are in it.
Yeah, that's what we are
So
human.
guys,
Yeah.
I'm going to read something here, and I want to hear your thoughts on it, if you agree with this writer. And they say political poetry in particular has long been used as a genre that enables an open, relatively safe discussion on the iniquities of society. Do you agree with him?
I do. I do.
Totally.
That it is particularly, has particularly long been used as a genre that enables fast and open, relatively safe discussion. When they say relatively safe discussion, what do you think it means? Because safe, you guys are already so deep, so powerful. You come out, talk about, speak your mind. I don't think you filter at all. You have some hidden meaning, but is it safe? Why would you say poetry is a safer tool in, discussing politics?
As for me, we're in a democratic country, definitely. So you have freedom of everything.
Yes.
Freedom of speech. That's the best and the most important thing that we do gain as poets.
Oh, great.
So when you're told just speak something, you just can speak it directly.
Why?
Because it won't ring a bell.
Oh.
Yeah, you just have to hide it in a way that will stick on someone's mind, like, what's the main thing that's trying to drive out of this? But ukipata, most of the artists, they just, what comes in the mind, it's you. Atasema tu hivyo, but in poetry, you just have to sit down, twist it a little bit, get something deep from it, then speak it out.
You know what? When you guys started off this conversation, I noticed like you guys are very articulate in English as we were discussing, but most of your pieces, kwanza yako, ni amani.
Upendo amani jamani.
Yeah, you see, upendo amani jamani, and then yours, you dropped it again in some Swahili. Why is it that ama kuna venye lazima tu relate na hizi vitu?
Why not? Like,
first
of all, why not? Because poetry like focuses majorly on language. Like, the vehicle that carries poetry is language, and so you want to be able to flex your muscle in terms of languages because you never know. Yesterday I had another TV radio interview yesterday, and the audience that majorly listened to it, as popular as the show and the radio station is more of like mixed language. It's more of like English, Swahili, Sheng. Yeah. So I was trying to like switch to pure English, and then it's like, no, it sounded off. I tried to go to Swahili, it sounded off. So you never know which audience. I think it's just good for an artist if you can be versatile, because versatility means the more people you can reach. Like if I go to right now to, let's say, a ghetto area, I know the kind of pieces I want to do. If I'm right now at a corporate show, I know what piece to do at a corporate show.
Oh, nice.
If I'm performing to teenagers, you always have to like be flexible so that you know who to reach. There are places I go and they really appreciate Swahili, like the pure Swahili.
Amazing.
I came from pure Swahili because I used to do like ushairi, you know the way?
Yeah,
ushairi. That's where I began. So the whole 4 lines thing, that was my thing. Even my first poetry in high school, I still have a book. I have a book full of such poetry.
Today?
I still have it. Like, it's how I started. It's not where I am right now.
You don't let go. Oh, I like that. How was your foundation?
Mine.
What was yours like?
Mine was just a freestyle. I guess it was just from freestyle. Language mostly was English, Swahili. By then, Sheng was not that much into it.
What do you say?
I am not that old. I'm speaking this out of mostly in school. Remember in school, it was pure English or pure Swahili.
Yeah.
Or if you're speaking, you just have to. The Sheng was just a little bit minimized. Yeah.
Like it's not like in a school assembly they're gonna give you a chance to do a Sheng.
Yes.
They want you to
probably journalism. The time you have
clubs.
is the time you'll get that freedom to speak.
Okay.
Yes.
But there's something, Ankey, you mentioned in regards to like poetry being an open and a safer tool in that regard, the quote you were mentioning. It's true in the sense that poets paint pictures, like we're storytellers.
Absolutely.
And if again, even as a believer, trust you me, there's so many great things that have been written in the Bible, but what most people remember, oh, it's a story of the Samaritan woman. It's a story of stories people tend, and then after the African continent is a storytelling continent. Like we are not unlike other continents who preserve their history in books and who had film. Like for us, it was storytelling. You told your great grandmother said this. Your great grandmother. That is who we are. So I find like poetry at its best. You're a storyteller. If you're a poet, you're telling stories, and so what happens is we are addressing the same ills of society, the corruption, but by putting it in a story form. Like we instead of just saying corruption, we are showing you a community whose life could be so much better, and then you now see the mental picture of what it means for somebody to steal billions. So you relate more with the story, and then you're like, oh, so it clicks. So this is what are these guys actually doing. So you mean this tarmac road could have been fixed. So you mean my child. So when you bring a story, I think it becomes more relatable to people because, and then the power of poetry to communicate emotions. The way we were saying about the extreme, the happy, the nini. People are like, oh, this thing is more serious than we thought. And so we bring in the human factor to this, we put a human face to all these issues.
And as you do that, it's non-violent.
It's non-violent.
And I like that. So we're going to look at a bit of your pieces here.
Right. Yeah.
So just to bring us up to speed, these amazing gentlemen on set have pieces on YouTube. Can we just pretty much just say what your usernames are on YouTube? So even as you're giving the pieces, can we start with you?
Yeah, okay. My poet stage name is Keystone the Poet. Keystone the Poet. Yeah, I've not uploaded any video on YouTube yet.
Oh, okay.
Because mostly I'm an art in general. So I'm very diverse. So
I know you're a choreographer.
Yeah. Poetry is part of me. Yeah, it's just part of what I do. Yeah, but mostly when I started poetry, professionally, I started doing art. So the moment I'm drawing, I'm figuring it out what to write down.
Dude.
Yeah.
Hey. So art is you and you are art.
Yeah.
Art is big.
Art is so big.
And look at his reaction. He's like, yo, okay, I give it to you. But what are the other, because I know you guys don't say this everywhere, every day, but what are the other hats that you wear besides poetry? And it's okay.
Well, I'm glad you asked. To be really honest, I've actually taken 2019, the year 2019, I won the award for the most influential poet, spoken word artist in Kenya, the Cafe Ngoma Awards, yeah? Nominated among like the big wigs of poetry in Kenya. Actually, Mumbi Mashari was nominated, one of the names you're mentioning.
Yes.
She's a dope lady. And so I actually took a break on 2019. I was like, you know what, do something else. I took a step back to just rethink this whole poetry thing, to come back better polished. And this is actually when I'm about to relaunch, to drop a new piece coming up, I think maybe in 2 weeks or so. So, and apart from poetry now, I'm a full-time photographer, video producer.
Great.
So I actually have my own company which was registered in around 2018 that we do poetry video, we shoot music videos, poetry videos, we shoot events. One of our major focus is like corporate gigs, like now doing productions for companies, photography, video and all that. I do that, like I enjoy doing that aside from, and then I've also, some people know me on the screen from acting because I've also done a bit of TV acting. That career sort of took off during COVID. And it was a good, no, there were no shows during COVID. So that was a huge blessing. It came and it carried me through there. And guys it was actually something I had not planned for, but somebody would really push me like, Pete, just go audition for this TV show. And I was like, okay. And it was interesting to see something you just picked, paying your bills and stuff like that. So photography, video production, acting.
And I like that. I like that you guys, you're showing actually, because a lot of youth watch today and they need to know that besides this, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 that also makes a person. But before we actually come back to this conversation on poetry putting food on the table, and if then politics takes the wrong direction, how does the poet get affected? Because as much as you enjoy the entertainment, food is also put on the table. Bills are paid, just like any other artist who puts effort to these things. So are spoken word artists and poets. So shortly I'll be showing you guys what, this really is made of in a packaged way, your piece, right? The Upendo.
Upendo manager man.
Hey, Upendo Amani
Upendo,
Jamani.
Amani Jamani. See, easy.
I like it, but I like the way Amani and Jamani.
I even made the title rhyme, yo.
And that is the dope part of it, the Amani Jamani. And right now everyone's talking about peace. Oh, Kenyans, stay calm. Let's stay peaceful. And I like something that he said, and I hope you picked it as well. Do you remember when he said, it's very hard for a spoken word artist or somebody to talk about peace without speaking about justice.
Yeah.
Right now, you do know that we're looking at a petition coming.
Yeah.
You guys followed the elections as well.
Yeah.
And you're also pushing peace.
Yeah. Yes.
How would... Can you give me a freestyle? I know it's not going to freestyle, but can you give me a freestyle on actually talking to Kenyans about, as we await, blah, 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 twist and turns the political scene, we need to keep peace in a way that a poet would do it. I just don't know how you're going to do it, but I mean, take it all away.
You caught me off guard, but I'll just try my best.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
But, yeah, it's good to be challenged.
Freestyle, freestyle.
For long, tumekuwa tukipreach peace. Na yet mnatuambia mtatupatia pieces za love. Tukifetch stones to throw up to you guys after metuacha. So inabidi tuna create our own time. Tufikirie kenye tutafanya kama mavijana. Juu jana ni moshi. But tutakam time ufeti Sydney uketi chini ufikirie, wow, it's my life. Nimejiharibia na umse amesema atanipia miaka 5 za uhuru, zingine 5 za ujenzi wa taifa. But wow, who am I?
Ungeongeza who am I, hatuna nguvu sisi. No, I love freestyling because for some reason he said, you given a mic, you're told speak what's on your mind.
Yeah.
And this is the most natural performance you could ever get.
Yeah.
But why not? We love freestyles because then you don't get the time to rehearse in the mirror and then edit. This is the most natural group of artists I have met the longest time in the field of entertainment. But guys, allow me to take a short breather.
Okay.
Let's take a look
I
at...
almost freestyled, I'm sorry.
You want... Oh, yeah, you can. Are you going to do it?
Mama, try. Like, why not? You caught him off guard. You can catch me.
Ooh, I know you wouldn't have let me, but thank you for letting me. So please freestyle and give us a break.
I hardly don't. Okay, so a wise man once said, kujua kwamba Kenya ni bigger than an individual. That before to proceed na hizi court cases, here is a case for you to consider. Here is a case study. Fikiria mtu mwenye price ya unga kichange from 90 bob to 210, na maanisha hiyo usiku menu lazima i-change kwa family. Kumbuka huyo msee lazima a walk 3 kilometers kwa sababu ume-alter price ya commodity. Ni hard to believe that msee anafikiria price ya unga ni 350 bob instead of 100 bob ndio na make financial decisions about my life. So here is a petition that tuko 42 tribes, 42, 43, 44, 45 tribes, but in the real sense tuko one big family. So sikam kutu divide us unless unakuja kutu dividea what you owe to us, which is a good Kenya, a peaceful nation, a progressive nation. Wengine tutaki job, tunataka tu an enabling environment to go about our hustles. Sio kila mtu alikuwa born to seek for a job, wengine tulikuwa born to create jobs. So create to an enabling environment. Otherwise, peace na justice lazima ziko exist.
Please allow me to just drop the Upendo, Amani Jamani, short breather for us to just watch that on TV. Come back with, you know, a lot of these discussions. Who's probably going to be dancing as we close. And leave me in the comment section what you think of the spoken word and what they have said. There's an intercession right here this morning. Hashtag The Morning Drift. Take a look at Upendo, Amani Jamani right now.
Alizaliwa na kulelewa kwenye jamii zilizochanganyika. Akiwa mtoto na hatimaye
utoke shule, then you come interrupt a school program.
He was an
and shoot a
alumnus by the
video
time.
and say,
Yeah.
"Yo,
Yeah.
that's dope, that's dope."
So I like when you say original.
It's original.
Yeah, because think about it.
I've not heard it from anybody else.
Is there any time you hear something from a poet and hear it somewhere else? Because is it?
yeah.
Is it?
Are you kidding?
You use Munaibiana Mami
No,
Study.
no, come on. Remove the two of us from that conversation. We are here to answer. His lines are original, mine are original. But I think that was very common, especially coming to this day. You see, even guys, it's sad. You actually see guys on the biggest shows, and you're like, oh man, on the biggest shows, and people watch on the weekend, and you're like, I know this piece. I know somebody just stole a whole verse from a poet I know. But you see, the one thing I love about poets are always activists on real life issues now, because they're activists amongst each other. So like when you see somebody like maybe steal a verse or a line, other poets will check you out. They'll be like, yo man, why are you doing that to Keystone, man? This piece, Keystone did this piece. So the guys are like an army, they come and defend you.
So
I used to go to shows.
Justice
Pia lazima ikuwe among us.
But at some point you'll just find like, he'll use some words that I'll similarly use.
Okay.
So you'll just like, you'll just find us flowing with some words like you're like, did you communicate, bro? But it happened. It's original.
That's the way you guys are in sync.
You're like a family. It's like a dance. When you put the same music, chances are high before you're done dancing. There's going to be a common move. But now the biting of lines now, that's different. I would go to concerts and I would hear somebody, I'm like, somebody even are crazy now. Some people I think wanachukuanga hadi
sound
it's called what?
The intonation.
The intonation,
like they even perform like so, because it's a big poet, so they think that's how big poets sound, and so they copy even the flow.
Okay.
So the piece could be theirs, but now the delivery is someone else's.
But at some point, I think it's an inspiration from big poets. You just like utasema will talk somewhere. So I had like
unagroki yule
you know, as in at some point, because mostly my inspiration was Mufasa.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So just sit down, listen to his piece, and I'm like, wow, can I just do this? But at some point, inafika unasema,
because you have to be original,
feel your vibe. Then you just twist it a little bit, then you get your piece.
Now, I like when Pete Stars spoke of dance. He's a choreographer, he's a dancer. And I want to hear how then does poetry influence your dance? Does dance then trickle into your poetry? Do these beats come in? At some point when you're dancing, is there a part of you that is vibing in sync? Because when he related these things together, I felt like, wait, would you want to say something about that?
Yeah, you know, it's art in general. Now, what I can say is, as I'm trying to choreograph a certain routine, you have to dig deep to it. Have to listen to the beat, have to listen to the words. Again, synchronize it with your mind,
you relate.
Then feel it.
Feel it.
Then when you feel it, everything will just come automatically.
So wale kwa club na dance. You
just can't dance anyhow. Definitely, you can dance.
You dance in your head.
You can feel your own things.
You just can dance.
Okay.
Because I started professionally dancing as a choreographer. Because ilifika point, the youth walipoteza focus.
What do you mean?
Utapata, mostly of the times there were no jobs, crime rate was high. Most youths are just into drugs and stuff, but what else can you do apart from poetry? What else can you do apart from photography? So I just started a motive and decided to form a school, a dance school, not a crew at school, so everybody can get educated. No age limit, from 2 years, as long as you can dance. It's
2 years?
I literally had a client.
Yeah, there was no age limit. I thought 6-month-old kid would be there, but I'm kidding.
Come on.
Can I break this? Can I break this? And we take a look at one of the choreographed dance by the Utawala School of Dance right now, and then we get to hear more on what else, are you thinking you can do with yourself besides what you feel you are actually built for. Take a look at this beautiful, beautiful piece from the Utawala Dance School. Naona matumbo inaenda 100 bob, alafu kuna ugali ya 30, total ni 100.
First of all, I want to go to that hotel and get that receipt.
Very.
Same amount of money, but pay what is down there.
But you pay, so you eat extra and pay.
You know, once the bill has come on,
that's the whole
what
point.
else will you do? You just pay for what's there.
Actually, I want to go to a showroom and have that same thing happen to me.
Wow, so you pay less?
You get a BMW for a Vitz budget.
So mnaenda kwa yote ya Juliana ni sawa.
Tunashiba.
Yeah.
Tunashiba.
All right, let's see this other one. Your primary mathematics. I cannot get the handle, but now Kenyans decided to go as far as, okay, turudi. Whoever made this meme, mtu alirudi akaweka picha za Juliana and the other commissioner. Hao ndo alikuwa anafaa kuwekwa kwa kitabu ya primary mathematics class 3. Surely. Kenyans, you have time, huh? They have time. Kenyans have time.
Class 3, no. But I do just love how creative Kenyans are. Sometimes they're too fast. You're like, wait, have you been waiting for this?
Like, did you know what's going to happen?
Are you kidding me?
Then let me just put it aside. When it comes, I just drop this bang.
But don't you think we're very creative? We're a very creative
Exactly.
nation.
So spontaneously creative. They're doing the freestyle thing, but now with memes.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
And now there's this last one that really caught my attention.
Aye.
Proverb developer. Proverb developer, alisema, the meme makes a return 5 years later, courtesy of Juliana Cherera. You know that thing of 2 + 2 nini, like your friends at the back of the classroom trying to tell you.
Yeah.
This meme actually came out kitambo sana 5 years ago.
Okay.
And then suddenly,
Yeah.
you draw the 4 fingers.
Oh.
So it has resurfaced thanks to Juliana Cherera. That is a tweet by Proverb developer. Anasema asante sana kwa kutukumbusha hii.
No.
Your friends are trying to save you.
Yeah. They're trying to save you, but they're getting it even worse.
Out loud. It's 4.
4, but now with the chora.
Kenya tu ingine tumeka tu
Man,
hapo
it's
direct.
Like, it was embarrassing.
But of course, on a light note, that's just pretty much how Kenyans are bringing in art to, you know, bring in satire and easing up the tension, kidogo, right?
Yeah.
So guys, if we were to close this conversation, what would you say? I know in your own spoken word style, but there to Jacheza refugee, to your mind? Tukifunga, or I don't know what you'd say, just close this conversation in terms of, you know, speaking peace and justice all at the same time, and ensuring that this country, now that you experienced 2007, doesn't go that direction again. Maybe in a minute or two, each of us.
Okay, awesome. So first of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate. I always don't take such opportunities for granted. At the end of the day, we have to remember that, you know, there's so many of us in Kenya. We're like 45 million people, and many times when you look at what is happening, whether it's how the elections came out, you realize that it so much gravitates or concerns just around a couple of individuals. And I think it's just about time as a country we really thought about the larger Kenya family and what is best for them. Like the other, how we treat these people who live on $1 a day really tells a lot about who we are as a country. And I think it's time we go back to that and really, because we talk about peace, we talk about justice, but I also want to add another component, which is love. Okay. And one of the principles of love is treat somebody else the way you'd like them treat you. Treat somebody else the way you'd like them treat you. So I think right about now as a country, I think we need to just remember that Kenya is greater than an individual, and let's think about the Kenya we're going to hand in to the generations that are coming here. But they can follow me on social media. I have a mental health project coming up in like 2 or 3 weeks. I'm launching a project called Mental Warfare. This is going to be my comeback spoken word piece on mental health.
Oh my God, we need that.
I'm an advocate for that, yeah. So from a personal story, maybe
please
for another time.
Yeah,
another
please
time.
Come back, especially before the launch or during the launch, or, or launch it here.
Yeah.
Because I know that's one of the deepest struggles, not just for youth, but hey,
humans in general
is in that warfare.
Yep.
Thank you for coming. Let's hear from you. What would you wrap this up as, even as we close in a minute or two?
I can just say, I've just loved how the youth have been united so far. Have you observed that? True.
Yes.
Like, sika kitambo venye ulikuwa unaambiwa, come do this, I give you this.
Yeah.
Like,
additional goons.
Yeah. Unapata like, let's say we are neighbors, okay?
Yeah.
So he's lacking something. He can come and assist him. But the moment a politician or someone else comes and just say, do this so that you can punish him, remembering he's the first person, you're the first person to depend on when you're with him, it doesn't make sense. I've just loved how the youth have been united, being creative.
Yeah.
That's what I've just loved, because no idling around. There's no idling as much as it was before. People are getting their own contents online because we've gotten that opportunity to post things Yeah, so nimependa tu venye vibe ya the youth iko tu sahi.
Hata KOT wako tu sawa.
Ai.
Top.
Top. Yeah, because unapata when I started this school, when I started this school, it was not easy. Gathering someone like, come, I'm starting a school, will you mind coming? It's not easy. But the moment we started it, because I was not the only person, we are about 4 choreographers.
Oh, great shout out.
We have Brian, shout out to Brian, the dancer. We have Neville, dance. We have Dan, choreographer, one of the biggest choreographers I know. Yeah, and we started this school just to build and unite the youth in Utawala.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it's
Amazing.
been a big process.
And I like that you have this project you really, hold at heart. I know that you're doing amazing projects, even in 3 weeks, launching something. Yeah. And then you look at this and you're thinking, just because we were queuing for a day, and you now want to bring in violence and break every other thing that has been standing because of violence, is it worth it? Kenyans this time are saying, no.
Nope.
So things are coming back to normalcy. Yeah, what is it like for you? But appreciating what you guys have done on set. Thank you very much. And I do want what you have to continue. So let's get peace and justice all fused together for a better Kenya. Thank you for watching The Morning Drift. I'm going to be closing it here. But remember that Simba Elijah Charles Kiage will be coming in with what is very, very important. Look at business. Have a lovely day. Enjoy your weekend. See you at 4 p.m. for trending news and at the top of the hour for the bulletin. My name is Ankey Dorice. Adios.
Badilisha maisha yako na kuachua chapa. Jishindie shilingi 1,100.
If you look at the banking industry half-year results, the same trend that we kept on talking after 2020, when majority of them were recording good results, especially after that hold of the COVID-19 pandemic, you would sum it and say things are back on track. In fact, they have been back on track since 2021 to date. So the whole talk about the hold of the COVID-19 pandemic on that particular industry, you would expect it is dying down. Now, Stanchart was the first one this week to give us those half-year results for the first 6 months ended at June 2022. And guess what? Indeed, they've recorded profits. To be exact, 5.9 billion. Then you would expect then that we'll come back and say the interim dividend will be paid. No. They said, not yet, because if you look at the market, we are still uncertain of what is going to come of the election petition that is impending from the Azimio coalition. Yes, they have said they are going to petition the election results. And again, they've pointed out to how bad inflation is hitting the economy, as well as external shocks. We do know what's going on across the globe with the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Then you thought that is just a single case in terms of that explanation. Stanbic Bank, they came in, reported stellar results for the half year ended June 2022. In fact, that profitability jumped up by 36%. But then they say no interim dividends. Why? The Kenyan shilling standing against the dollar. They also pointed out the rising inflation in the country. They also pointed out the impending election petition that makes the markets unclear. They also pointed out external shocks, and we do know what that means, the Russia-Ukraine crisis. So the question is, when you don't pay that interim dividend, your investors, are they not also trying to hedge against inflation? Are they also not trying to fight these external shocks of the weak standing of the Kenyan shilling versus the dollar? If indeed you're blaming the general election, yes, you can say in 2017, we did close down the market after everybody just didn't know what to do after an election has been announced. But if you look at how we traded all the way to the time when we got the president-elect, William Ruto, our markets were pretty certain of exactly what was going to happen. In fact, we did have 1,068 deals from around 763 just a day before the election. And that is just a day before the results, and that was on Monday. Should we therefore question the bank's cancellation of the interim dividends? That is the question. My name is Simba Kiage. You're just in time for Look Up a Business. We are online at Look Up TV across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. Let's jump straight into the biggest headlines that we have for you at this hour. Wait, what will become of the impending Azimio petition challenging the outcome of the just concluded August 9th election? President-elect William Ruto already has his plate full as he walks into a government with a 500 billion shillings in pending bills. Economic analysts say that for a man who has rose to popularity by promising to prioritize small businesses in the country, he has to find a way to address the issue of pending bills. Majority of the unpaid money is owed to small businesses in the country, a factor that has seen majority of them close. Katso Jeffwa with the details.
government already has a mountain to climb if he takes over office, as he has to figure out a way to settle the outstanding bills left unsettled by Uhuru Kenyatta's government. The 504.7 billion shillings in national government pending bills include the 88.9% held by the state corporation, while the 11.1% is held by ministries, state department and other government entities. The state corporation pending bills cover arrears to contractors, suppliers, statutory and non-statutory deductions, and pension arrears. 65.5% of the state corporation pending bills belong to contractors and suppliers. Bills held by ministry and state department mainly constitute historical pending bills that have remained unpaid over the last 2 years. Ministry and State Department have been to prioritize the payment of pending bills, with the arrears making for the first charge in the new 2022-2023 budget execution. With the new incoming government, what will happen with these pending bills?
In the overview of all that, then the incoming government, for purposes of stimulating the economy, and given also probably the objective of the incoming government to stimulate or to bring the economy back into its heels, then it must pay attention to these pending bills.
The growth in national pending bills is despite a standing national government policy on the clearance of pending bills that even saw the outgoing Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatan threaten to freeze funding to the state agencies if the cash remained unpaid. With majority of these bills owed to the small businesses in the country and with Ruto promising to support them, will he prioritize their payment amid rising public debt?
Now, in terms of the effect, whether the incoming administration will respect the existing or the 2022-2023 budget, I tend to think that it must have a different way in approach of administration or management of the economy. And I will not be surprised that as early probably as next month, if the government will be in place, it may be requiring to do a supplementary budget so as to align to its policy and of course to its focus in terms of its manifesto.
It will be all eyes on Ruto to deliver on this important promise as he awaits the verdict of the Supreme Court on the just concluded general election. Kadzo Jeffwa, Look Up Business.
So Jaffa, with that story, now Bitcoin has in the last few weeks rallied from its lows of 17,000 to the dollar to the current $23,000 as inflation surprises keep knocking, with the European Central Bank refusing to rule out even high numbers in the future. Investors who were hopeful of a higher value for the cryptocurrency this year have been forced to hold out at risks for a further risk asset drawdown become a reality. With Kenya among the leading countries in the continent in cryptocurrency investments, Rufus Kamau weighs in on why crypto has been volatile this year and what to expect in the last quarter of 2022. Speak it. At the beginning of the year, we've seen how inflation has soared across the world. The US is crying of the worst inflation in history. We're seeing the Europe market is also crying of the worst inflation in history. The conversation about how Bitcoin was going to be a hedge against this is sort of tumbled. Could you connect Bitcoin and inflation? We thought it was tight against these things.
Yes. So when you talk about Bitcoin versus inflation, I would like first of all to focus on inflation first. So inflation, as mentioned, it's a general rise in the price of goods and services.
Yes.
And this is mainly caused by the increase in the money base. So when there's an increase in the currency that you are using, let's say the Kenya shilling increases in supply, then you find that there's plenty of it and it loses value. So you tend to pay a higher amount of Kenya shillings to buy the same product. So world over, you find that fiat currencies or the currencies of individual economies tend to lose value over time. And when you talk about time, this is about a 100-year life cycle. So a currency will tend to lose value like 90, 99, or even 100% within 100 years. So the same case is happening with the Kenya shilling. If you look at the value of the Kenya shilling, 50 years ago versus today, it has significantly lost value. So My grandfather tells me he bought a piece of land at 8 shillings. 8 shillings.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So when you compare that with the price of a piece of land right now, you realize how much a currency can lose value. So with Bitcoin being the new invention, it doesn't lose value over time, mainly as a result of the hard cap or the fixed supply of 21 million Bitcoins.
Yes.
So while central banks keep printing more and more currency over time, which devalues the currency over time, for Bitcoin, there is a hard limit to never get more than 21 million. So currencies are naturally accepted. So if, let's say, you're in Kenya and you're using the Kenya shilling, you can use it anywhere in the country.
Yes.
So for Bitcoin, it's a growth curve. It started with 1 person, 2, 3, 4, and keeps on growing. So a couple of years ago, I didn't have Bitcoin. Now I have Bitcoin. Organizations did not have Bitcoin, but now they are adopting more and more. So if you look at BlackRock, they recently did a deal with Coinbase to allow their clients to purchase Bitcoin or gain an exposure in Bitcoin. It's a big company. It has like $10 trillion worth of assets under management. So with this increased adoption at corporate level, then we are looking at potentially higher prices in future. Right now, the issue we are having with Bitcoin going down is mainly as a correlation with other stocks. So the entire US stock market has been going down. It has been bearish for the entire year. So this correlation is because the investors in Bitcoin and stocks have been treating them the same way as risk assets. So whenever they feel there is a risk and uncertainty, they are selling. And whenever there is a positive sentiment in the market, then they are buying. So there has been a very strong correlation between the two. However, over time, you will realize that demand keeps on rising for Bitcoin compared to other assets.
Yes.
And this serves as an inflation hedge. So if you take a very short-term look, let's say 1 month, 3 months, then that might not make sense.
Yes.
But if you look at the last 10 years, you realize that people who invested in Bitcoin, let's say in 2009, 2010, 2011, up to, let's say, 2014, all those people have been covered in terms of inflation. So despite their local currencies losing value over time, the investors in Bitcoin have actually been gaining value over time.
Yes.
So the current low prices in Bitcoin basically serve as an opportunity to accumulate more because you're expecting there's a hard cap and adoption is keeping on growing.
Yes.
So for any asset, if there's higher demand and there's only a limited supply, then the price always shoots up.
In 45 seconds as we end, people saying that, well, Bitcoin hasn't really peaked to the level that it's supposed to have peaked, because we expect to get to 100,000, because the guys with the money who are controlling the dollar right now haven't just decided to buy into Bitcoin. Therefore, the whole laugh for you guys are saying that you're very independent when it comes to Bitcoin, but the guys with the dollar right now, once they decide to buy in, they'll also come in and control Bitcoin.
I think it's as a result of inflation.
Yes.
So when there's a high inflation, you spend more money to buy your basic commodities. You spend more money buying food, buying healthcare, paying rent, and all that. So you're left with less money to invest.
Yes.
So as a result of that, the demand for Bitcoin is also significantly lower. So as long as we keep on getting higher inflation, then there's a higher smaller and smaller money that goes into Bitcoin.
Yes.
But then at some point, when it really picks up, people realize the value of Bitcoin as a store of value, then you start seeing it rising compared to other assets, and that's when you'll see expecting bit by bit gain, and then all of a sudden we have a bullish momentum.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Professor, thank you.
You're welcome.
Professor Kamau, with that interview now, Zamara customers will soon be beneficiaries of Old Mutual Insurance critical illness cover after Old Mutual Insurance got into a partnership with Zamara to offer one-stop financial solutions to its customer base. Now, the critical illness cover is available as a standalone product, which is part of Old Mutual Afya Imara family cover that says beneficiaries receive a cash payout of up to 750,000 shillings at the first detection of a critical illness.
A deep inseated desire in all of us is that we want to be wealthy. Yes? Just became a Christian simply because they were told that the streets are paved with gold. The owner of cattle on a...
So the critical illness cover is a protection plan that affords customers, both individuals and corporates, protection in the event of a critical illness. that has been diagnosed to an individual who has the cover. So the cover provides a cash payout, a lump sum cash payout to a member who is on cover and has been diagnosed with a critical illness. You all know how expensive it is to treat some of these illnesses like cancer, heart attacks. And it is basically a strain into the financial resources of individuals once somebody is unfortunately diagnosed with a critical illness. So Kenyans need to consider to take up this cover because immediately an individual is diagnosed with a critical illness, it ceases being an individual problem. It becomes a family problem and a society problem. The reason why I'm saying that is because treating some of these critical illnesses are quite expensive, and it will drain the financial resources of a family in the attempt of the family seeking to treat this beloved member of a family who has been diagnosed with a critical illness. We have seen cases where families go on selling assets, fundraisings, in order to seek medical treatment, either abroad or locally, so that they can enable this individual who has been diagnosed with a critical illness become better.
Yeah, it's a beautiful morning, a day we were looking forward to, and it's a day that brings us together with our partners, Old Mutual, Kenya. And why are we here? And part of the conversation includes why we should promote critical illness insurance to our clients. And this is because critical illness insurance, together with any other risk benefits, has become key in terms of some of the things that one needs to consider in their planning for retirement or in their financial journey. As you all know, retirement is not an event, retirement is a journey. Hence, there are certain stops that one needs to consider and look at how to ensure that they are well covered so that they arrive at the destination safely. So why did we then choose to partner with Old Mutual? Old Mutual is a known brand, just like Zamara. They are strong in what they do. And part of the beauty about them is that they are very, very keen in the way they develop their products around research, well-researched solutions, well-packaged to meet the client's needs, and therefore we felt that having the opportunity to come together with them then would actually be a value add to some of the things and the services that we offer to our clients as Zamara.
It is the case of the position that go like, it's like it's a good idea to be a Christian. No wealth conversation, guys, the Kenyans.
Moving on, in a week when Standard Chartered opted not to pay their shareholders an interim dividend, Stanbic Bank has joined them despite recording a 36.9% jump in net profits for the 6 months ended June 2022. Now, the lender had paid an interim dividend of 1 shilling and 70 cents per share in the first half of the financial year ended June 2021, which later culminated to a final dividend payout of 7 shillings and 30 cents per share for the financial year 2021. Now, banking experts view this as a calculated move from the lenders to conserve cash in an economy headlined by high inflation, a weakening shilling against the dollar, and uncertainty in the country after the Azimio coalition announced they plan to dispute the just concluded general election. Stanbic has been making interim dividend payouts to shareholders at an average of 5 shillings per share. Well, that is essentially what we have for you at this hour. In as much as the biggest headlines business-wise are concerned at this particular moment. Now, just before we take a short break, let's look at exactly how the markets closed at this week when the headlines have been around what is going to happen in this general election. quickly, let's move into what was top gainers in as much as the NSA is concerned the day before today. That is exactly how indeed we look like. And we do have Kabasset really coming in, Nairobi Business Ventures. We have the Liberty Group also coming in at this particular one. But if you look at where we were, and that's exactly what we said, not much of movements. They say because this week's trading, because you can see it's from 9.9% to just 7.11%, all the way to Kabasset in terms of the biggest gainers. All right, let's talk about the biggest losers as well, as far as those market updates are concerned. And again, we can talk about Scan Group. We do expect the majority of that will be exactly what we've seen across the board. But the new entrants here, we can talk about Everready again, which have been around this. At a 6.17%, we have Scan Group again, which is a new entrant in this list at a negative 7.25%, making that list for the top losers in terms of how this week's trading has been. But you can see the margin not so much big in terms of that movement, because we have 5.56 to 9.44 as the biggest loser. Good. Let's talk about the biggest movers as well in terms of how the markets opened today. We do have Safaricom again, as expected, really, in terms of riding the effects of the general election in the market. Safaricom at 1.9 million shares in terms of volume. We do have KPLC again, has been a strong stock during this election period, but you can actually see in terms of volume, it's only Safaricom that have moved that trading, because you can see from 1.9, KPLC comes in at 285,000 in terms of the biggest shares traded, all the way to Absa, Kengen. You can actually see that not so much in terms of movements, telling you exactly what the sentiment has been in the market in as far as the elections are concerned. Now that is how your markets opened this morning. We do hope indeed that you're going to see a couple of changes in as much as those particular numbers are concerned, because we period, and we do not expect so much even as we get into the electioneering period. We take a short break. Once we come back, let's dial it back then this Friday and talk about how you can turn your passion into business. We do have a very interesting story for you right here on Look at Business.